reinforcement training with horses. And prior to working with horses, Shauna worked with marine animals, including orcas, sea lions, dolphins. And then since then, she's made a big splash, pun intended, in the equine industry. And she's impacted many Olympic horses, adult amateur horses, you name it, and Shauna has helped them. So thank you so much, Shauna, for taking the time, and we're excited to talk to you today about how you can use positive reinforcement training at shows.
Thank you. It is great to be here, and it's always great to spread the word about positive reinforcement. There's a lot of misnomers, and people don't quite always know what it's about, and they think, no. So it's nice to be able to let people know how it can help them in different areas. So thank you.
Absolutely, yeah, and thank you everyone who's joining live. We love seeing you here, and Shauna, do you want to jump right in and talk about a couple ways that you can use, that you recommend using positive reinforcement training when you're at a show?
Yes, and I think this is an important preface, is you really want to start the positive reinforcement training at home in the best scenario, because what positive reinforcement does, so we think of training, and it's like a big giant iceberg is how I picture it. And what we think of the training, how to get them on the trailer, how to get them to jump the water, how to get them to do these things, is here. But what we don't see is how big and massive the changes are, what goes on, what changes in their mental place. So starting it at home in the best case scenario, we start producing endorphins and dopamines and oxytocin and things that make them feel safe and good. So starting these things there, but then taking those familiar pieces to the show ring can make some really, a lot of exponential improvements, but there are some that is very, some that are very literal, that translate. And so I tried to think of some of the ones. First of all, the first thing you're going to notice is when you take your horse and they're like, wow, what is all this stuff? And you say, hey, can you come over here? Can you target for a minute? And they go, yes. The target and the association with the target or whatever it might be, even if it's a hand target or lifting their leg or something, it doesn't even have to be the whole big thing, but you're taking them back to that element of positive reinforcement that is so familiar and represents safety, and immediately you've invited them. You haven't made them. You've invited them back into this sphere, which has really, and I could go on and on about this, but it has been linked to a sense of safety. So when they go, it's all scary, and you say, hey, can you come back over here and just lift your leg? And they're like, oh, yes. And you can feel them let go of it. And so one of the first things I think that is the most important piece, and this affects everything that comes after, is a brilliant way to help them relax. And be able to help them focus. I think most of our problems when we take our horses to shows is their lack of focus. So they're like, the flag, the announcer, the other horses, and they're so distracted by all that's going on around them that their adrenaline is piling up and they can't quite keep it together. And what you can do beautifully at home, you get there and you're like, you can jump a 2-foot jump. They're like, no, I can't. So I think the first thing is their ability to relax and focus in a new environment, particularly as soon as you get there. As soon as you get there, you can say, hey, can we do this? And that is where it begins. And now you can set it up instead of it feeling like a scary place. And let's admit, horses are neophobic. They tend to be afraid of new things, new sights, new sounds, new smells. And the horse show's full of them. So they look at them and it's kind of like stranger danger. Like it's all a potential to kill them. It's, and that we think it's silly, but it's their reality. We have to go, I get it. You're really terrified here. Okay, let's help you. So I think if we can, at home, we can actually begin the starting of some systematic desensitization, some impulse control and self-regulation exercises that are very simple. But when we get to the show, it's easy to go, hey, remember, we're going to come back and settle. So now when they can settle and focus, we can start to get that relaxation. We can get a horse who can concentrate on their job. The other thing, they're fun. I never want to, my number one rule is training should be fun for you and your horse. Always. So that's just what it should be. And that doesn't mean you can't get serious things done. But the horse, this is what with the marine mammals, it had to be fun stuff. If they thought it's all, then they're going to be like, I don't really want to do it. And they just swim away. There's no halters, lead ropes, anything. So it was up to us to be like, no, this is the best. And then they're like, this is the best. And so that's what we went with our horses when they get there, like, oh yeah, it's a lot. Can you come back? Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, now we're going to do my favorite thing, and things that we have truly created as being their favorite things. So first of all, it helps with like I said, the settle, the relaxation, the focus. That affects everything else. The other piece that I think is a big piece that we deal with a lot at shows is the separation anxiety. So now we have, and it could be two horses that never knew each other, and they got in the trailer together, and from here on out, that is my safety, And so we've all dealt with that kind of screaming horse, the other one screaming, and all the tension, and that just wreaks havoc on their bodies and their minds. Now we have cortisol, we have stress, we have, all these things that are hard on them and are really oxidative. So by creating with the positive reinforcement, what starts to happen, and again, we start at home, but we become part of their herd. We become a sense of safety. When they feel worried, they'll come back to their human versus feeling like I have to get back to the horses. Now, is it perfect? No, but we have a way that we can say, I am here for you. And that relationship really starts to get better. And let's say we get there and it's too much, because sometimes we get there and the show is too much. Like, okay, I get it. It's a lot. We took our babies to Equitana, for like one of their earliest times off of the farm. They're like, this is a lot. We're like, we get it. It is a lot for me too. But what we could just do is invite them back into the training pieces. And like, let's say we have Henley and Santino, or the two babies here that grew up together, that traveled together. And we say, can you just look the other direction from him? And we can click and reinforce that. And we can start that process, which pretty soon they're like, oh, I'm doing my favorite thing. Again, back to that sense of safety. But if it always feels like it has to be the herd, to me it says there's not enough relationship with the humans to feel safe with the humans. The herd represents the safety. So separation anxiety issues are one of the things I think we get to pretty quick. The other thing, yes.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you because you're on a roll. And
oh yeah.
I just wanted to clarify or ask a quick question. For the herd bound stuff, or making sure that you build your relationship with your horse so they feel like you're part of their herd, are these is there like a quick exercise that you recommend doing at home in order to start that process, or is it really just like spending time with your horse, making sure that they view you as an ally?
Yeah, sometimes it will soften very quickly, and they'll be like, I'll leave Bucky, I don't care, because I'm going to go do my thing, and it's a no big deal. Now Bucky might be losing his mind and we have to deal with that, but a lot of times they just start going, I love this training and this is so much fun for me, and we engage them in the game and the thinking and the play. And so then they're like, oh, this is my favorite time of day. So a lot of times it'll just melt away. But there are times that we have to do kind of a systematic thing. So even like when we took Henley and Santino to Ocala last year, again, they at that point were 2 and 3 year old babies. So we take them there and they're a little bit like, okay, we go together. And so what we did is just took them in, there was 2 paddocks, right, next to each other with, and we took one and the other one. And we took them to the fence together. And then we started doing say, can you look this way? And as soon as she'd look that way, I'd click and feed. And then I'd say, can you walk a couple steps this way? Click and feed. And then I'd take her back to her buddy and then back. And then pretty soon she's like, who? And she doesn't care. So sometimes it's a little bit more of a systematic approach is needed. And sometimes it dissolves quickly. And once even if there's a lot, and we can say, hey, I'm inviting you back into our game. And then they can go, okay, it's going to be okay. And we have kind of a foundation to work from. Sometimes we get there and we go, okay, it's a lot. I still need to work on this more at home, or whatever it might be in a smaller setting. But it's a way that we really can help them to start to feel safer with their human and feel like, okay, this is, and you know what? Think about who is the first person, that's how I think of it. Who is the first being in their life that regulated their food? It's their mom. And what is in that feeding process is oxytocin for bonding. So it is a way that it is creating a bond between, otherwise baby's like, I'll nurse from whoever, So it's a way that safety has, and if you see a baby out and they get in trouble, they run back to their mom, like, uh-oh, got the other one. And so that oxytocin is part of that feeding relationship. So when we start utilizing food in that way, and it's free enough that we're helping them, but it becomes conditioned as that way. So you don't necessarily have to go, we're working on separation anxiety here. It's kind of now the oxytocin, the forming of the bond, the safety that has, and this is only my theory about that, but I thought it way long ago with the marine mammals. I mean, I'm talking 35 years ago. I would look and think, this is a maternal bond that is created. So I feel like it's even more with the horses. There's times we've had Henley out and she gets scared by something and we'll have her loose in the yard. She can run back to the horses. And if she startles herself, she just comes back over to me, like, help me, you know? So,
I love that.
yes, I do too. And it tells me a lot. I'm like, okay, it tells me where our relationship is. So some of these things do need to be worked out at home. And sometimes you don't know they're a big deal till you get to the show. And then you're like, okay, there we go. We're dealing with flags or whatever's out there. Okay, the other thing that I think is trailer loading. Trailer loading is a big part of getting to the show. It is the physical state your horse gets to the show in, has a lot to do with that. If they sweat the whole way there, they're going to get there dehydrated, exhausted, maybe colicky, maybe, the beginning of ulcers, all those pieces. And so helping them with the positive reinforcement to get the trailer to be a good exercise. Also, one of the things that Jesse and I do quite a bit is work on them loading and unloading, stopping on the ramp and checking in, reinforce. So they just don't scoot off the ramp and then just think, where the heck am I? So they get out and they say, I'm still with my person's here. Now, where am I? So getting them in a safe way, in the best physical condition we can do, and then being able to take them away. You watch at the end of the show, all the people going, okay, I need help here. Now the horse won't get back in. So I think that getting them with a nice trailer loading experience. The other part I think that is important is improved performance. Now, there's when the horse is more relaxed, when the horse is more focused, when the horse can just say, who cares about that other stuff? I'm here doing my favorite thing. Now they tend to move like they did at home. Now they have their big swingy trots. Now they have their, they're not all looking around and revved up and can't actually use themselves well because nerves are getting in their way. They can now actually go, okay, there is safety. So it really does help their performance. But also what happens when we have positive reinforcement behind the training, when there's classic conditioning that goes on that makes those things produce endorphins and dopamines and even oxytocins without the use of food, just asking them the food was used extensively in the training, but then when you ask them to do that, they're like, of course I'll counter depart. I love counter departs. They make me feel good. And they don't remember why. But if we built the performance on that, we've said, we're here and it's a lot, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to do your very favorite thing. And then they're like, okay, I can do that. So it's another way that the relaxation, the focus comes into the picture, but it also results in the bigger swing trot, more elastic, long and low, all the things we want from our horse's physical being. And then the final thing is you can actually, again, this starts at home. It all starts at home. This is not a patch kit. This is a foundation that's truly built. You can improve their form, whether it's jumping, whether it's pee-off, whether it's a sliding stop, whether you can improve each of those things. So you can shape the way a horse jumps. And people don't think that. They think that's the way it's done. Do you know a sea lion doing a backflip? Their first backflip looks like this. And you're like, someday that's going to be this tight, high in the air little circle, but it takes a long time for the muscles and the strength and the awareness. And we do it all without halters and lead ropes, so we're like, okay, it's a process of shaping that behavior. But it starts by saying the first thing you need is a little bit more, whatever it might be for that sea lion, it could be different. A little bit more use of I need him to look back a little more and get his head and neck kind of involved first. And that still may be and flat, but we start. And so we can shape all of those pieces with a positive reinforcement at home. And then as we take them out to their favorite place to do these things, or not their favorite place, but we take them out to do their favorite things, we already have an established criteria. We can pull those pieces and help them to get better and stronger and to perform as we like. And I think that considering the relaxation in the gait and how they go, that all kind of dovetail together. And it also, it seems like I've dealt with a fair share of horses too who have problem, they want to go out the gate. They don't want to go in the ring. Well, if the ring represents the hard part of working, because it is hard, the things we work on, but we get them good at home. We use positive reinforcement and it becomes more their idea, and we can fine tune those little pieces to be, because it's like a scalpel with the clicker. It's a way to say these little pieces. And then we build it into a long chain of behaviors so that we're ready for a show. We can do it all without having to stop and feed those pieces. But those you don't even see then the horse who's like, I don't want to go in the ring, or I'm bulging out of the ring, because they like being in there doing what they do best. So I think that's kind of those 5 things I think are important pieces. Is it a little convoluted and a whole lot more to it? Yes, but these are ways that we can do that. And Santino and Henley being 3 and 4 now, we're preparing them for shows. Jessie breeds the hunters, and they are magnificent in hand, the way they move, the way they look, the way they jump. It's all, they're bred for the show ring. And so our then challenge is, how do we use positive reinforcement to get them there, to make sure they like it and want to be there. We're not trying to make them be there. We really want to push them, or not push them, but to create them enjoying doing this thing. So if somewhere along the way I thought Henley hates this, then I would probably address the piece that I felt like she didn't like and see if I couldn't, maybe I missed a piece there. But I'd also be quick to go, okay, we're not doing that. Maybe we try something else. Maybe it's just not your thing. So I think when we're open to that avenue, we give them a voice, we listen to them, but then we can kind of adjust and help them to think it's the best thing ever. So they'll turn into little hands. They're like, look at me go, my feet are up here, or whatever. My knees are up there. But so there's a lot of ways that we can help that performance and help the horses. In the big picture, their emotional state, their focus, their relaxation. In the smaller state, we can then work on, through the operant conditioning, how they jump, how they get in the trailer, all these pieces. But meanwhile, while we're working on these pieces with positive reinforcement, what's happening is the bottom of that iceberg is getting stronger and stronger and bigger and broader and stronger. So the foundation that is below it is enormous, and it makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. And Shauna, Henley, is she your first that you're bringing up from being a weanling all the way up to trying to make them into a sport horse? Is that your first time doing that all the way from the beginning?
Well, to a certain degree, because I went from Marine Mammals right to John and Beezy Madden. So I worked with John and Beezy Madden. That's what we did. We worked at Grand Prix show jumping, and we did that. And they had 2 horses. There was Mint and George. And these 2 were one was a year, probably a year and a half by the time we really started working with them. One was 6 months. So they were babies. I started, Minty learned, all the undersaddle with positive reinforcement. I didn't, but this was 28 years ago. I didn't think it was that big a deal, and video cameras were giant, so I didn't, but what happened as we went along, we didn't really show as much. We worked with show people, but we were so busy helping them that we didn't actually get to doing the showing ourselves very much. They'd be at shows because we'd be working with people at shows. But so this one is, Henley is the first one, Henley and Santino, who's Jessie's horse. We are doing showing. This is what we're addressing, all the things that are our struggles and all the things that are the exciting, best parts, what's different. And it's great having Jessie, because Jessie is one of the really nice traditional trainers. And so now, as she started using the positive reinforcement, she's starting to recognize, and it's great because she can go, I've started hundreds of horses, hundreds. And this is way different. So she can bring that. I'm a marine mammal trainer who trains horses. In the beginning, that's how I was. I was like, yeah, of course that's how you do it. How would you do it? But now, so I've lost a lot of objectivity because I didn't start with the traditional training. I started as a marine mammal trainer. So Jessie brings a nice balance to that and recognizing the challenges, which Vinton, my ex-husband, was a Grand Prix show jumper. So of course he knew the challenges, but to be doing this together hand in hand and walking through this and bringing our babies up for us to show, and that being the main goal is really pretty exciting. And then hearing and recognizing all the places, it makes them so much more balanced when we get to those places. That first day might be a lot, but then by day 2, they're like, okay, I'm good. We just took them to the Young Horse Show finals. And so now Henley's going through a jump shoot, which she doesn't know about, but we taught her to free jump. Santino knew a whole jump shoot, you know, but to watch them and think, how are they doing? And they go to others' hands and they're at liberty, and that I just think it's been really fun, and we're learning a lot as we go, but really with the goal of being able to help the show world. I feel like, you know, your recreational rider, your horse enthusiasts have embraced this a little more, and they're doing great with it. But the show world there's a big disconnect, seems like, with people with riding and groundwork. And I'm like, it's the same. It's the same person. I'm just in a different place. But so to kind of connect those dots for people and help to get it further. Way back when I worked with John and Beasy, there was a horse, they had Judgment, and Judgment had a big water stopping issue, and he had the best trainers there are, so it's not like he had shoddy, you know, training. And then a bunch of trainers, after he went and showed it was clean, jumping water, multiple waters at Spruce Meadows, I had a bunch of international trainers call in order to get clickers and buckets, and I remember thinking, this is, you know, 25 years ago. I remember thinking, but this isn't enough for you. I mean, this will be a start, but now with the internet and stuff, there are more resources, and we can really kind of support people through this next phase and help them get it right. So we're excited about that part.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I'm so excited for Henley and Santino. They're like the luckiest horses in the world. Like absolute superstars. It's gonna be so fun to watch them.
Someone should let them know.
Thank you so much for taking your time. This has been so useful. I think my main takeaway, well, I've got two main takeaways. One is everything starts at home. So we have to start training our horses with this stuff at home, so then when we go to shows, we can use something, a tool that we've already created at home.
Yes.
And they feel safe in, and so they're like, okay, I get this. This is no longer all new. And then I just loved how you said we're doing this to have fun. The horses should be having fun. We should be having fun. That is the ultimate goal here, and I think that we all need to remind ourselves that a little bit every day.
Yes, yes,
and,
good.
It's an important reminder.
Good. Thank you. It has been so awesome to see you, and thank you everybody for joining us too. I think it's been fabulous. And anytime I could have 1,000 different things we could do.
I love it. Yeah, we'll make this an ongoing thing that we do. I love it.
I do.
Thank you so much, Shauna. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye guys. Thank you.